how do you view it as, like, as you rightly described, right? You know, when you seen the product grow from scratch, from zero, and then you plant it, nurture it. This actually is only enabled in very early stage companies or probably growth stage companies, but does not happen in enterprises, right? Because when we talk about it, the product design is a job in Amazon. Like, imagine for an L3, for an L1 at Flipkart, or probably. The reality is also it, and probably you worked there, that you spend your whole time optimizing a very, very small part of that whole space.
Yeah.
Right? And many people actually fail to get the creativity out into that space. So what's your thought process about it? Like, because when I see your journey or many people's journey, right, around me, and some people have gone to a product company first and then they've excelled. But many people which I have seen have probably gone to a place or have started into a space where they've got an opportunity to experience a lot of things at once. Probably your entrepreneurial journey of building products, right? Or probably a director where I don't know what state of design systems did you get? I don't know. Like, did you create the design systems from scratch, or was it already?
It was from scratch.
Okay, that was also from scratch, right? So how do you see this as? Like, as an entry-level designer, what do you think? And this is purely personal view. That how do you, if you have to start today, would you pick a product company or probably a design consulting firm or something like? What would be your personal preference and why?
So to each their own, right? We say, like, but if you ask me, my journey has been like, I would say jack of all trades, right? I would say, and master of none. But it pretty much works here, because then you really need to choose where you would want to head. Right? Is it research? Is it the initial part of designing, or is it the later part? What excites you, or what are you good at, right? Are you good at working along with, collaborating with engineers more, or PMs more, or with fellow researchers more? And so this is within this realm, right? What about VDs, right? So I think once you, as a designer, it brings to that lot of complexity where you have to choose between so many given options, right? But with different companies, these options do not exist, right? So let's say a Flipkart, let's say you are a researcher, you would on most of the projects you wouldn't have a dedicated researcher. So that meant that you had to do the research yourself, right? Synthesize the research data, analyze the data, and then sort of create a problem statement and go backwards and sort of build a solution, user test it, come back, and then do all that process again. So I think some of the companies, they allow you to do that, right? There's a very big misconception that when you sort of work for a multinational or established startup, right, you have very little or probably very less work to do, right? When I say very less work, you're probably mostly optimizing a button or you're optimizing. But I would say you're doing much more than that. Just to give you some context, I think one of the projects that we were sort of working on in one of the companies is to optimize the buy now button, right? And the buy now button, the CTA, right, is itself the most primary CTA that for that company, right, or the checkout button, right? And to optimize, to place it correctly, there's a lot of thought given behind that, right? Where does the user sort of see the price, right, and then they sort of hit checkout, or where do they what allows them to easily find the buy now button, what has more conversion? So your job goes beyond just designing something and letting the